Continue to reflect on the life and legacy of Charlie Kirk, it's only fitting that we remember another one of his favourite pastimes, debating the biological reality of life with a medical student. At Cambridge, he brought his standard anti-abortion talking points rooted in religious dogma. Unfortunately for him, he was about to go up against the student who brought a textbook. Show your support by hitting the like and subscribe buttons, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. Now let's watch this together, and I'll give my 2 cents at the end.
Our next question is from Kai Bevan at Trinity Hall.
Right, so thank you for coming, Charlie. My question to you, I'm a medical student, and so I'm going to throw out the big A word. I know you get asked about it a lot, but I want to hear from you what your opinion is on abortion.
Life begins at conception.
But about abortion specifically, why do you think abortion's wrong specifically?
Well, you agree murder is wrong?
I agree. Okay, so this is where we get to the question, right? Because what is it about murder you say is wrong? Like, why is murder wrong?
Well, because it's a human being, not just because it has consciousness or because it's of a certain age, because it's a human.
What is it that gives human being this moral worth?
Not its consciousness necessarily.
I didn't say it's consciousness.
I know that. I can imagine it's because it is a human being, because it has a soul.
And what is this soul? Where does this come from? This idea that it's...
Exactly. Again, the Greeks postulated that it is the entirety of your being. Okay, you guys can laugh. It's true. Every civilization has had a different belief, but agreed upon ethical monotheism, which is the creed of the West and what the birth certificate of my country articulates, is that every human being is more than just matter, it's more than just a clump of cells, but it also has an invisible element to you that will live beyond you.
Fine, so... can you say that comes from the Bible, or where else do you get that from?
Ethical monotheism, which is the creed of the West. And again, the Declaration of Independence mentions God 4 times. The founders were explicitly believed, not in a secular morality, but a divinely given one, of at least this idea that there is a God and you are not him. And let me ask you, what is the first stage of human development?
So this is the thing, right? We can take it from the sperm being generated in the father and the oocyte being generated in the mother, right? They fuse at birth, conception, sorry. The only thing that happens at conception is these 2 cells fuse.
Right? No, DNA is created. A zygote.
DNA is not created.
A DNA, no, that's not true. The DNA, DNA coding at the zygote. Hold on, time out.
I'll let you finish.
Does a zygote have a unique marker?
Charlie,
does a zygote have a unique marker?
You have to let me speak.
But answer it, yes or no. Does a zygote have a unique marker?
Define a unique marker.
Meaning, can you differentiate the DNA coding between the mother and the zygote if you examine it under a deoxyribonucleic acid analysis? Can you?
Only purely because the addition comes from the father.
Oh, so it is something different.
Charlie, DNA is not created. DNA is not created. You have, the father has his own genome, the mother has her own genome. They fuse. This is why you have the same characteristics, similar ones to your mother, similar ones to your father. That's why you have similar characteristics to your siblings. DNA is not created, right? So when you ask me, where does a human being come from? I can say to you, it starts at conception, but all conception is these 2 cells joining, right? But these 2 cells were created, the mother cells were created long before, they were created when she was a fetus. So there's none of this DNA being produced, right? So we can't establish, the only thing that happens at conception is these two cells fuse. Now this idea that means that for some reason suddenly that moral worth comes in, but it wasn't there before when you had these 2 cells who had half the DNA. But suddenly there's a
correct. Yes, something magical happens at that.
It's not magical, Charlie. We know about this.
Well, hold on.
Charlie.
Time out. Hold on.
I promise you, I'm not trying to score points. I'm not trying to score points on you. This is genuine.
We call it the miracle of life for a reason. We've not been able to yet replicate human life development outside of the womb.
We call it the miracle of life because yes, it's something beautiful, the ability to form a new...
Magical.
It's not... You say magical as in, it's beautiful, it's an incredible thing that happens, of course. But it's not incredible in the sense we don't know what's going on. There's no new DNA coming out of nowhere.
Hold on, but time out. Isn't there a separate DNA though than the mother?
Yes, from the father.
Okay, yes, but it's not the father's DNA either. A new coding is created.
Charlie,
you are a blend of the 2. And so when did your life begin?
Okay, so
when did your life
begin? I mean, again, this comes from what you define as where life starts. You can say life starts at conception, but I'm telling you, I believe that's just an arbitrary point, right? That's just the moment these two cells fuse. Now, you say about this mother thing. So the way DNA is arranged in a cell is it's arranged in chromosomes. Chromosomes are paired up, so you have one from the mother, one from the father, typically, in a healthy individual, right? Now, you can take those maternal chromosomes out, and you can find that this is who the person's mother is, and you can do the same with the father. Now, the reason you are different to your mother and father is because some of those chromosomes express genes that are different from each other, and so those genes interact, and that's what gives rise to you, right? But there's no space for any kind of moral framework to come into that until you consider that a human being is capable of consciousness and of suffering. But if you take that out of the equation, the fact that these two DNA, whatever they call molecules, right? These two DNA molecules are fusing. That does not suddenly flip a switch that attributes moral worth to that individual.
All right, let's really unpack this argument. The claim that he's making is,
if you say a baby's life doesn't matter just because it can't feel or think, then by that logic, newborns, people in comas, or even people under anesthesia wouldn't matter either. But we know they do. A person's value is based on being a living human being with DNA in the future, not just on what they can do in the moment.
sounds compelling at first glance, right? But let's slow down and actually break this apart carefully. First, notice how the argument compares a fetus to newborns, people in comas, and people under anesthesia. The big problem is, those situations are not equivalent. A newborn is already born. They exist outside of the womb. Yes, they need care, but they don't require the use of another person's body just to stay alive. Feeding, holding, and caring for them are acts of support, but they aren't acts of bodily surrender. And for people in comas or under anesthesia, a person in a coma or under anesthesia already had a conscious existence, and they could regain it. They are independent beings with an established personhood. Their rights don't rely on another human being's organs keeping them alive. A fetus, however, is fundamentally different. It's not just receiving care, it's literally using another person's blood, uterus, and body functions for survival. No other human relationship requires one person's body be commanded by another in this way, and that's the key difference that the comparison conveniently ignores. So when I say a fetus can't think or feel yet, I'm not equating it with coma patients or newborns. I'm pointing out that it hasn't yet reached the stage of independent personhood, and that small distinction really matters. Next, the argument tries to say,
human value isn't about abilities, it's about being alive and having DNA.
okay, but even if we grant that a fetus has value, that doesn't erase the rights of the pregnant person, and this is where bodily autonomy comes in. Think about it. No one can be legally forced to donate blood, even if someone will die without it. No one can be forced to donate a kidney, even to their own child. And no one can be forced to remain on life support to keep another person alive. In every other situation, we recognize that bodily autonomy outweighs the potential to save another life. Pregnancy, however, is the only situation where some people suddenly argue that those rules should no longer apply. That means they're effectively saying,
Pregnant people should have fewer rights over their bodies than everyone else.
not valuing life equally. That's singling out pregnant people as exceptions. Now let's also address the claim.
The unborn baby has its own DNA and future, so its life is worth protecting.
Yes, fetuses have unique DNA, but so does a sperm cell and an egg cell, and we don't call every sperm and egg a life worth protecting. DNA is not the sole marker of personhood. Otherwise, every time someone spilled semen or had a period, we'd be mourning a tragedy. And as for future potential, that's a slippery slope. Potential alone doesn't give rights. A fetus has the potential to become a person, but so does an unfertilized egg or even a frozen embryo in a lab. Potential doesn't equal actuality. Rights belong to actual people who exist in the present, not hypothetical futures that may or may not come to pass. Another hidden assumption in the argument is that the fetus's right to life and the pregnant person's rights are equal and can be weighed the same. But in reality, they are not equal stakes. On one side, you have a fetus that is completely dependent on another body with no consciousness in early stages and no autonomy of its own. On the other side, you have a fully conscious, independent person whose body health and life are all directly on the line. Forcing someone to stay pregnant against their will isn't just protecting life. It's stripping away their autonomy, their bodily integrity, and in some cases, even their safety. That's not equal. That's sacrificing the rights of one person entirely for the sake of another potential's future. Finally, let me clear up the biggest misunderstanding I see. Pro-choice arguments are not saying that fetuses don't matter. What they are saying is that the pregnant person still matters too. We don't deny that a fetus may hold value, but that value cannot outweigh the rights of the person whose body is sustaining it. To put it plainly, you matter more than a pregnancy that cannot exist without you. Your body is not a resource the government or strangers can claim, and abortion is making sure your choices and your autonomy are respected.